Guess what? According to the Vigilant Fox, everything changed today. Everything. What? What happened? Well, something that should have happened, I don't know, 40 years ago, Trump finally did with an executive order. This could go down as the biggest healthcare shift in the world. Trump just did what every other politician promised to do but failed. He took a wrecking ball to Big Pharma as executive order to slash drug prices by up to 90%. Up to? Then RFK Jr. exposed why no one else, not even Bernie, ever followed through. So, you know, all my shitlib friends are going to say, he's only reducing the drug prices so that we'll get everybody else going to get hooked on those drugs. That's what this is about. That's like saying don't smoke weed around Seth Rogen because we don't want him getting involved in drugs. Trump signs executive order setting a 30-day deadline for drug makers to lower prescription drug costs. This is real. This is real. Let's hear. This is real. It's right there from the AP, so that's how you know it's real. Here we go.
But starting today, the United States will no longer subsidize the health care of foreign countries, which is what we were doing. We're subsidizing others' health care. Countries where they paid a small fraction of what for the same drug that what we pay many, many times more for. And we'll no longer tolerate profiteering and price gouging from Big Pharma. But again, it was really the countries that forced Big Pharma to do things that, frankly, I'm not sure they really felt comfortable doing. But they've gotten away with it, these countries. European Union has been brutal. So for the first time in many years, we'll slash the cost of prescription drugs, and we will bring fairness to America. Drug prices will come down by much more, really, if you think 59. If you think of a drug that is sometimes 10 times more expensive, it's much more than the 59%. You know, it depends on the way you want to analyze it, but in one way you could analyze it that way. But between 59 and 80, and I guess even 90%.
So what he's really doing, you want to know what he's really doing? Okay. President Trump on Monday signed a sweeping executive order setting a 30-day deadline for drug makers to electively lower the cost of prescription drugs in the United States, or they have to face new limits down the road over what the government will pay. So at least half of the people who take pharmaceuticals in this country are paid for by the government. So 70 million people are on Medicare, 80 million people on Medicaid. That's like half the country already is on government health care. Why don't we just go the rest of the way? Why not just go the rest of the way? It couldn't get... I love how people go, oh boy, if the government took over pharmaceuticals, they would really have a field day. What do you think they're doing now? The order calls on the health department led by RFK to broker new price tags for drugs. So it's the price tags that the government is willing to pay. So they're going to set the standard. So you know how Joe Biden said, oh, we're going to, so there's a law, literally, this is how corrupt your government is, that doesn't allow the government to bargain for prescription drugs for Medicare. Did you know that?
No.
So that's why it was a big deal when Joe Biden said we're gonna get 10 drugs phased over a bunch of years that we're gonna actually be able to negotiate them. So what that means is the pharmaceuticals, they get to charge whatever they want to Medicare for the drugs. Sometimes it's 200%, 300%, 400% more than the rest of the world pays. That's what Trump is talking about. So if you want to get a drug to give it to a senior citizen on Medicare, the government can't negotiate the price of that with the pharmaceuticals. That's because that's how corrupt your government is. They passed a law that made that illegal. And so that's why other countries pay a fraction of the cost for their pharmaceuticals than we do in the United States. And Trump is saying this has to end. And you have to do this voluntarily or we're going to just start. So he's giving them 30 days and RFK is going to broker it. If the deals are not reached, Kennedy will be tasked with developing a new rule that ties the price of what the United States pays for medications to lower prices paid by other countries. So he's like saying, hey, you either lower these prices voluntarily, or we're just going to pass a new rule saying we don't pay any more than Switzerland pays for these drugs. And pharmaceutical shareholders, I bet, are standing on their balconies jumping for joy. Here's what RFK said about it. Here we go. Is that not RFK? Who is this?
That's Oz, and that's RFK.
This is an extraordinary day. This is an issue that, I grew up in the Democratic Party, and every major Democratic leader for 20 years has been making this promise to the American people. This was the fulcrum of Bernie Sanders' runs for presidency, that he was going to eliminate this discrepancy between Europe and the United States. But as it turns out, none of them were doing it. It's one of these promises that politicians make to their constituents, knowing that they'll never have to do it. And the reason they'll never have to do it is because they know that Congress is controlled in so many ways by the pharmaceutical industry. There's at least one pharmaceutical lobbyist for every congressman, every senator in Capitol Hill, and every member of the Supreme Court. By some estimates, 3. Pharmaceutical companies, the industry itself, spends 3 times what the next largest lobbyist spends on lobbying. So this was an issue that people talked about, but nobody wanted to do anything because it was radioactive. They knew you couldn't get it by Congress. We now have a president who is a man of his word, who has the courage. President Trump was taking money from the pharmaceutical industry too. I think they gave you $100 million. Yeah. But he can't be bought, unlike most of the politicians in this country. And he is standing here for the American people. There has never been a president more willing to stand up to the oligarchs than President Donald Trump. And I'm very, very proud of you, Mr. President, for your courage, I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies. We spend in our country $1,126 per capita on drugs. In Britain, they spend about $240. They spend 1/5 of what we do. And this is true across Europe. And the drug companies, Europeans, if you ask them, it made no sense what they were saying. Well, America has to pay for this innovation or it's not going to happen. President Trump is saying to our European partners is you got to raise the amount that you're paying for those drugs and pay for your share of the innovation. That the United States is no longer subsidizing that. If the Europeans raise the price of their drugs by just 20%, that is $10 trillion that can be spent on innovation, and the health of all people all across the globe is going to increase because we're going to have better products.
So what he's talking about there is that I'm going to show you in a second. The pharmaceutical companies say, well, if we don't overcharge the United States, then we're not going to have any money to develop new drugs. And then you guys are going to be. So that's what he's saying. He's like, hey, well, let's spread this out. Let's spread it out. The problem isn't Europe. That's a straw man. The problem isn't Europe. That's a red herring, maybe. The problem is our corrupt government. And so we allow big pharma to corrupt our government by bribes, and then they pass stupid laws like we can't negotiate for drug prices, and then we end up paying $400,000 and $500,000 and $600,000% more than Europe. That's not Europe's fault. That's our fault. Europe has universal health care in most every country. We don't have that here. So that's not Europe. So they're trying to do this thing where I'm not blaming the pharmaceuticals, I'm blaming Europe. Now, it's not Europe's fault, but I get why they have to do this for politics.
So I'm just so grateful to be here today. I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime. I have a couple of kids who are Democrats, are big Bernie Sanders fans. And when I told them that this was going to happen, they had tears in their eyes because they thought this is never going to happen in our lifetime. And we finally have a president who's willing to stand up for the American people.
So, so almost everything he said was true except blaming Europe for it. But you want to see how much more we pay? Here's Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz has a chart. You want to see the chart? Here we go.
I left is a list of the 10 drugs that were negotiated in the IRA. Again,
So this was when Biden said, "Oh, we're going to be able to negotiate prices for 10 drugs." Here we go.
this is the bill, the law that regulates a negotiation process. This is the best price that was able to be obtained by the Biden administration.
So after they said we're going to negotiate the prices of these 10 drugs, look how much they negotiated the price. You ready?
And if you look at these numbers, they actually reflect how much on top of the most favored nation price was being paid by the United States. So the closest to me, Bob, you can point to the Jardiance, the closest one, 289%, the one that's closest to you. That means that we are paying in America 4 times more than that drug costs in other countries. Again, 100%.
So that's 400% more. 4 times equals 400% more. Even after they negotiated, remember Biden, we beat Big Pharma. This is how they beat them. We're only going to pay 400% more for that drug than the rest of the world does.
It's the baseline. It's 289% above that baseline. It goes all the way down to when we're paying 50% more than any other country.
So the lowest is right here. After they negotiated, Biden administration, we're paying 50% more than any other country. So that's the lowest. Do you understand how corrupt our government is?
Doesn't sound like negotiations are really happening
And it sounds,
with Big Pharma.
sounds weird. Doesn't sound like it. Sounds weird that Trump is the guy who's going to do this. Well, we'll see what happens. But we'll see what happens.
That's the range. As was pointed out by President Trump, half the time we're paying 3 times more than is paid in other countries. It doesn't make any sense for the system. That stated, President Trump has over and over again indicated, and Secretary Kennedy reflected as well, we want innovation. We want our technology partners doing the best they can to make the best solutions for drugs to cure as many people in America and around the world as possible. By getting our allies to pay a bit more, as they should be, and they should have for many years been doing, will course correct a problem that's gotten out of hand. And by doing that in a thoughtful, effective way, we're going to be able to get the pharmaceutical industry whole. Those jobs will still be here, will still be productive, will still be curing cancer and a slew of other ailments that plague humanity. America will still be the leader in this space, but we'll be paying the appropriate amount, the right-sized amount for those tasks. So over the next 30 days, the 4 of us up here, together with people standing in the back of this room who are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, are going to be approaching pharmaceutical companies to talk specifically about what we want the most favored nation price to be based on the best data we have. We're looking forward to a thoughtful interaction with these corporate leaders, many of whom we've spoken to and in quiet will agree the system is not right the way it is. They're patriotic Americans. They want what's right. But the fact that in my lifetime, as Secretary Kennedy said, for the first time, we have a thoughtful and aggressive.
I like how he says that the people I talk to from the pharmaceutical industry, in quiet, in private, they will admit that this is a screwed up system. But in public, they rape the country because they're Isn't that funny? In private, they know it's screwed up, because they're patriotic Americans. But in public, they screw over the taxpayer horribly. That's basically what he just said. That's kind of funny. I didn't catch that the first time I listened to it.
Approach, thanks to President Trump, on taking on the special interests, should give all Americans confidence that this is an administration that stands for fairness, and it should chill the waters for those who believe they can push us away from our North Star, which is to take care of the American people. Mr. President, God bless you.
And here's what Trump had to say at the end when he's signing it.
We're now on top of the tax cuts and regulation cuts, all the things. Now you're going to say that the price of your medicine is going down by 60, 70, 80%. You're going to vote against it? I think a lot of Democrats are going to be forced to do something that their leaders are going to beg them not to do, and that's vote for the bill. I don't see how they can vote against it. How can they vote against it when drug prices, drugs and pharmaceuticals are going to be down 70, 80%?
Believe me, they're going to find a cockamamie reason to no, I don't want to stop research on cancer. I don't want to stop research on diabetes. I don't want to stop. That's what they're going to say. This is going to take away all that research. This is going to take, so nobody going to have any more innovations and people are just going to die. That's what they're going to say. They're going to say it. They're going to say it. Watch that. So just to show you how bought they are by Big Pharma, ABC News asks a question. Is it about this? Is it about how Big Pharma's been raping the taxpayer? Is it about how corrupt the Congress is and letting Big Pharma rape us? No. Watch what the question is.
It's going to be very interesting.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not?
They didn't ask about this. They're asking about Qatar or Qatar that just gifted the United States. Some people say Trump. Some people say they gave it to the country. Trump gets a free airplane. He doesn't have to pay for Air Force One. And so Qatar just gave them a free airplane. I don't know how much it's worth, 400. Some people say $400 million. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's not Trump's. Trump gets a free airplane. He gets to fly around on Air Force One. So Qatar wants to give one to the United States. That's the dumbest, stupidest thing. They're acting like that's going in Trump's bank account, or he's going to, when he leaves office, he's going to take it with him. That's what their question is. So it's a dumb question. It's a question meant to incite. It's not meant to give information or to shed light on anything. It's a political gotcha question, which it isn't, because I don't think anybody gives a shit. I certainly don't. Qatar wants to give a plane to the United States for the president to use. Go ahead.
Leave it behind.
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why not?
It's only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us. I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer.
You know what he said?
And he had a motto: when they give you a putt,
pick it up and go.
you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. Then they putt it and they miss it.
And they missed the putt.
And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, as a businessman, some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received anything?
It's not a gift to me. It's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster.
By the way, ABC just had to pay Trump $15 million for defamation. Did you know that? That's what Trump should have said. Didn't you guys just have to pay me $15 million for defamation? So they're acting. So now the news, because they don't want to cover actual news, now they're spinning this as, oh, this is a gift from another country to the president.
ABC is a disaster. Here is the bill. Bobby, come on over here. Now you're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars.
Trump's got his own private jet. Plus, he gets the U.S. Air Force One. This is not a jet. He's going to. It's just the dumbest thing. Anyway, so and he's in the middle of doing something historic, and that's what they want to talk about. A non-story. They're not talking about, hey, why didn't Joe Biden ever do this? Why didn't Barack Obama do this? How could our government be so corrupted that it takes Donald Trump to do this? That's their question. The headline here should be Wharton Business School grad takes down Ivy League grad in mere seconds. So the AP says, hey, it's unclear what, if any, impact the Republican president's executive order will have on millions of Americans who have private health insurance. So they jump right to, well, what? So of course it's unclear. So they're downplaying this immediately. Instead of saying, yes, thank God somebody finally is talking about this. The federal government has the most power to shape the price it pays for drugs covered by Medicare and Medicaid. Trump's promise, new but uncertain, savings on drug prices just hours after the Republican-led House released its new plan to trim $880 billion from Medicaid. Taxpayers spend hundreds of billions of dollars on prescription drugs, injectables, transfusions, and other through Medicare, which covers 70 million people. Medicaid covers 80. So that's 150 million people, right? What are there, 330 million Americans? It's almost half the country is already covered.
So let me ask you really quickly, Jimmy, on something like this. I just wanted clarification. If he reduces these drug prices, is that only for MAGA?
No, it's for everybody.
What? He's doing something for everybody?
That's what it seems like.
That sounds like bullshit.
The nation's pharmaceutical lobby, which represents the top U.S. drug makers, immediately pushed back against Trump's order, calling it a bad deal for Americans. Drug makers have long argued that any threats to their profits could impact the research they do to develop new drugs. See, you guys have to pay 400% more than the rest of the world because then we won't be able to do our research. Importing foreign prices from it's socialist countries. Do you hear what they're doing, Big Pharma? Are they the scum of the earth? Yes, they are. The answer is yes. Hey, you better keep the system just the way it is, or we're going to make you some really dangerous drugs. How about that? It's going to be all side effects, no benefits. Next thing you know, you're going to wake up gambling in Las Vegas in your pajamas with anal leakage, and that's just what the commercial says it's going to do. It would mean less treatments and cures, and it would jeopardize the hundreds of billions our member companies are planning to invest in. We're planning on investing that money. It's amazing the balls on these pharma guys, right? This is exactly what the mafia would say. No, we're going to help you with that money. The narrow executive order faces hurdles. With a court order that blocked the rule from going into effect under President Joe Biden's administration, the pharmaceutical industry argued that Trump's 2020 attempt would give foreign governments the upper hand in deciding the value of... So Trump tried this once. He did, however, Trump did, so he blamed foreign countries. He's not blaming Big Pharma, which I think is quite a sleight of hand. But, however, he did threaten the companies with federal investigations into their practices and opening up the U.S. drug market to bring in more imported medications from other countries. That sounds like that should be the lead. The pharmaceutical companies make most of their profits from America, Trump said. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Trump played up the announcement over the weekend, boasting in a post that his plan would save trillions of dollars. But on Monday, the White House offered no specifics or how much money the administration anticipates it could save. The health department's top leaders will be meeting with drug company executives over the next 30 days to offer new prices on drugs that are based off what other countries pay. Wow. It's got to be a catch. There's always a catch. Are we going to see Bayer NRA children's aspirins with real orange flavor? So anyway, that's good news that AP tries to turn into bad news and ABC tries to make it about a plane that has nothing to do with anything. So we'll see. Isn't it something they're gonna cut $880 billion out of Medicaid, but they're not going to cut that out of the Pentagon? They're actually going to increase the Pentagon. Pentagon, which can't pass. Nobody wants to increase their. It's just amazing. Believe me, that would. It's amazing. All right, over to Steph.
Hey, Jimmy, you ready to go over to Rumble? All right, let me go ahead and put it there for you, ladies and gentlemen. It will be pinned. Hold on, I'm going to pin it right now. And you can just go to Rumble. You know how to do this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's pin it. We're going to go to Rumble. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you over there in a minute. Ta-ta.